Keliling dunia pakai motor listrik. Keliling dunia pakai motor aja udah susah banget. Dan ini baru saja keliling dunia pakai motor listrik. Please welcome Roman. How are you, Roman?
Hello, hi Dimas. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Thanks.
meet you.
Happy to be here,
Welcome back to Indonesia. So, how many days have you spent?
Well, I left from Jakarta 10 months ago, so it's been a journey around the whole world, and I came back last week.
Jadi dia, Roman, baru pulang setelah 10 bulan keliling dunia pakai motor listrik. And how many kilometers have you?
So I did 42,000 kilometers since I left.
Wow.
So,
In this bike, ya?
yeah, so this is, exactly. This is the bike.
Electric bike.
This is an electric motorcycle, and this same bike went around the whole world with me. Yeah? So it was only me and this bike.
Wow, jadi Roman keliling dunia 42.000 kilometer keliling dunia pakai motor listrik. Zero, what is the name?
Yeah, it's a zero bike. Sorry.
Zero, mereknya adalah Zero. Dulu motor ini pernah ada di Indonesia, tapi sekarang nggak ada, jadi dia masukin sendiri. Nah, hari ini kita bakal ngobrol sama Roman, gimana sih keseruannya, susahnya apa aja, dan dia ada kendala nggak ya sama motor listrik dipakai keliling dunia. So, Roman, why did you do this?
Okay. So I have a good reason. This was a lot of work, yes, so
Yes.
I did it for a reason. I did it for a reason to show that electric motorcycles are already so good that you can take one just yourself around the whole world, which means that people can have more trust in the technology of electric two-wheelers, right? Especially in Indonesia, where people are mostly using two-wheelers.
Ya, jadi Roman keliling dunia untuk membuktikan bahwa teknologi motor listrik itu udah sangat bagus sekarang. Jadi orang-orang terlebih di Indonesia itu nggak usah ragu lagi sama yang namanya teknologi motor listrik, karena dia sudah membuktikan keliling dunia pakai motor listrik itu bisa, teman-teman. Nah, how did you plan this? I mean, how many months it would it take?
Oh yeah, so I was riding myself electric bike in Jakarta, right? And I realized like how good it is, right? How quiet, how easy is it to charge? People, they don't know about it. So I already started like in 2020, and I had a route which was possible to go around the whole world. But then COVID came, right? So I suddenly could not do it. So at least I used it to a little bit test more. So for example, on a different motorcycle, I went from, already in 2021, I went from Jakarta to Bali just to test how easy to do touring on an electric motorcycle.
With this bike or
With
the
the previous
one?
which was even much less range, much easier spec. And it was possible. So I thought like, well, if that bike, if I get a better bike, I could be able to go around the whole world. Of course, I had to plan so many things. So I am a consultant, so I had my framework and the key pillars were.
Wow, I feel like talking to my MD now. All right, keep going.
So I had a pillar of the route, pillar of the rider, and pillar of the bike. And of course, so for the route, I needed to make sure that it's feasible, right? That I will be able, I'm a Slovak national with Slovak passport, motorcycle registered in Indonesia. You know, there are certain things you need CarNet, which is a document enabling you to cross borders. I needed for some countries like China, I needed really Chinese driving license, Chinese number plate. I needed a special permit to be able to cross across China on a motorcycle. So I had to do some like sort of administrative preparations. Then of course I needed to do some preparations with a motorcycle.
Yep.
Like, what should I take with me? You know, I have a limited space. I will have this with me all the time. So, you know, very simple things. What type of clothes I will take, what type of spare parts, etc. And then it was a rider myself. I just needed to make sure that I am, you know, in reasonable shape to be able to do this. And I am sort of prepared with also the documents which I need for myself, you know, visas. But it was, actually visas were quite easy. But especially what would be also the routines and protocols I will need to do during this journey, you know, to maintain the progress and discipline. So the way I framed this was not a joyride. This was really a work. So yeah, I had my sort of work routines, planning, daily quotas, long-term planning, shorter-term planning. It was very, you know, sort of, you could say even mundane, but that's what this journey was about,
Jadi Roman ini persiapannya cukup panjang teman-teman nyiapin yang namanya karne. Karne itu adalah kayak paspor untuk kendaraan. Dan juga especially di Cina ternyata harus pakai plat sana dan driver license sana. Persiapan lainnya kayak motornya, terus rutinitas setiap hari, dan ternyata dia juga punya target ataupun kuota per hari ya untuk dijalani untuk bisa menyelesaikan rute dalam keliling dunia ini dalam waktu 10 bulan tersebut. So now we're gonna talk about which routes did you take.
Yeah.
So and then how many kilometers do you do per day?
Okay. So I did some high-level planning. So the route was, I really wanted to circumnavigate the planet, right? Which is beautiful, this planet. So now it's funny, just a comment. I now have like the feeling how big Earth is, right? Because I went around the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's big, but it's not unlimited. So I started in Jakarta, and I then had to cross to the mainland in Asia, right? So I went to Sumatra. And from North Sumatra, I crossed to Malaysia over the sea, put this bike on a boat. Then from Malaysia, go to Thailand, Laos. Laos was quite tough. The roads were really challenging. From Laos, across the entire China. From China, across to Kazakhstan. Really, Central Asia was the most challenging because it's also very deserted, especially Kazakhstan, very empty, long distances. And then from Kazakhstan, I had the only one route, which was to Azerbaijan across the Caspian Sea. And then from Azerbaijan, I just did North Georgia, Turkey, and then to Europe. Europe was fairly easy because of the maturity of infrastructure and everything.
And you have European passport, yeah?
Exactly. So suddenly there were no custom procedures. I just went up to London.
Also, to London.
And then from London, I put the bike on the plane to New York. And then from New York, I pick up the bike and across the entire US. I was a little bit delayed because of all the custom procedures in Asia. So I already hit winter, so I tried to go as south as possible in US. But I still did not manage to avoid snow and very cold, freezing weather, especially in New Mexico and Arizona. So I went then, even to Nevada and then to Los Angeles. So I across the US. And then from Los Angeles again, I fly the bike to Sydney in Australia. And from Sydney, I really wanted to do something unique in Australia, so I really took a challenge to cross for the first time on electric motorcycle, crossing the outback. So I went up to Adelaide, and then from Adelaide, 3,000 kilometers to the north of Darwin, across just really empty Australian outback. And I stopped in Uluru, which is very iconic, almost spiritual place in the middle of outback. First time electric motorcycle was there. And then from Darwin, I came to Darwin. From Darwin, I put the bike on a boat in a container to Timor-Leste. And then from Timor-Leste on the Timor Island, that was where I crossed border back to Indonesia, which was absolutely amazing feeling because I was back home. Indonesia is my home. So it felt like I left Indonesia. I came back to Indonesia, and then from there, I crossed across the Indonesian islands.
To Kupang,
Yeah, so from Kupang I went to Larantuka in Flores. Cross Flores, close Sumbawa, Lombok, Bali, Java. And in Java, when I was in Surabaya, I really wanted to see also new capital city.
The new,
IKN. IKN. So I went to Kalimantan, to Banjarmasin, and then right to Balikpapan. And visited IKN on electric motorcycle as well, which was really, because IKN wants to be this sort of green, modern, so I saw it firsthand. It's going to be a beautiful city. Based on what I saw there, my confidence is very high that it's going to be a great place. And then I just returned again back to Java, Surabaya, and from Surabaya I really enjoyed, the whole Jogja, Bandung, meeting communities, back to Jakarta, where I am now. Where I also started.
Jadi emang Roman ini keliling dunianya jauh banget ya. Kalian bisa dengar sendiri tadi keliling dunianya benar-benar keliling dunia banget. Walaupun tidak semua negara dilalui, tapi total kilometernya 42.000 km dan itu jauh banget. Akhirnya sampai balik lagi ke Indonesia. Per hari, and how many kilometers do you ride per day?
So I had a strict routine at the beginning. So I had my daily quota 350 kilometers, which meant that I would charge during night, full charge. It takes around 10 hours to get the full charge. So in a hotel, I need to plug in somewhere, normal power plug. So in the morning I'm fully charged. And then during the day I would try to find some boost charge, which would be, I stop for lunch for 2 hours, some coffee shop, I ask them, you have a plug there, is it okay? Or, in countries like Kazakhstan, there was some village, so I just come there is a house, hello, you have people super kind, they always wanted. They never had like an issue, no, you cannot or something, no.
Okay.
So I would do some boost charge, which, depends on conditions, wind and temperature, but I could do those 350.
Nice.
So the days, and I tried to at the beginning ride every day. I didn't have any weekend, nothing, because I really wanted to progress. And I managed to do that. Yeah, I had like in a month, I had 2-3 days off where, sometimes, for example, I don't know, I ate something. I had these routines, for example, I would eat only once a day because it minimizes the risk of eating something wrong, right? The more often you eat, the higher the chance of eating something wrong. So I was really strict. Quite frankly, towards the end, when I was, for example, in Indonesia, I would spend 2 days in Bromo, riding there, beautiful. So I was not so strict anymore. I already sort of did it, but at the beginning, I was this 350 was my quota.
Jadi per hari Roman ride sekitar 350 km, teman-teman. Nah, sembari makan siang biasanya dia sambil nge-charge untuk nambah baterainya.50 hari kira-kira 350 kilo. Dan bahkan dia punya beberapa rutinitas kayak misalkan dia hanya makan sehari sekali itu untuk mengurangi resiko salah makan ya, karena kan keliling dunia. Jadi takut ya pada kenapa-kenapa, dia lebih milih untuk tidak makan sesering itu. Dan di contoh kayak di negara Kazakhstan gitu ya, ternyata walaupun daerahnya kosong, negaranya kosong, tapi setiap rumah biasanya masih mau bantuin dia untuk nge-charge sembari makan siang. Jadi memang kalau misalkan memang pengen nyoba keliling dunia pakai motor listrik itu sebenarnya bisa. Dan sekarang kita mau coba ngomongin motornya. Now let's talk about the bike.
Okay.
So now let's talk about the bike itself. So in a single charge, this can go up to?
I can do, depends on the speed, right? The faster you go, the lower the range. In Indonesia, where you go on average 50-60 kilometers on these roads, I can do 300-320 kilometers on full charge.
So, dia motor ini, Zero ini, sekali nge-charge, kalau di Indonesia itu bisa sampai 300 hingga 320 km range-nya. Jadi bisa dibilang ini adalah motor listrik dengan range paling jauh yang ada di Indonesia nih. Karena lainnya bisa cuma 100 km-an. Jadi ini 300 km sekali charge. And this one has the same charging socket as a car, yeah?
So here has one socket, but that socket can be plugged into a normal power socket in your home or everywhere. Or if there is a charging station, can be plugged also there. But quite frankly, charging stations, they are still not so prevalent. So on my journey, 95% of charging was from a normal power socket.
Jadi walaupun motor ini punya charging socket yang ada di sini, itu bentukannya kayak yang punya mobil, tapi 95% tripnya Roman keliling dunia, chargingnya itu pakai charging ke rumahan biasa yang dicolokin ke tembok, teman-teman. Jadi ini ternyata tidak perlu charging station yang canggih banget, yang ke rumah aja itu bisa menyelesaikan trip keliling dunia. How about the battery itself? Do you feel any, how will you say it? Deterioration?
No. So the only difference I saw in battery capacity was related to temperature. So in a tropical climate, comparing to US where it was winter, so you get like 40 centigrade degree difference, I saw that there is less capacity in a cold weather.
Okay.
But as I came back to hot climate, again from US to Australia, it came back. I have not noticed any deteriorations, and I did already maybe around 200 charging cycles on that battery. So even more, because maybe 250.
250. So you did 250 charge.
Yes, because I had full charges always, and then sometimes I had a boost charge. Not like it was not always like from 0 to 100. When I was boost charging, I would charge from depend where I was and how much time I had.
Wow.
But I have not noticed really any.
Wow, so battery.
So now I'm back in Indonesia. I just was crossing now, right? So when I was going across Java, I could do 320.
Wow. Jadi selama 42.000 km dan 10 bulan perjalanan dia ngeklaim tidak merasakan adanya perubahan di baterainya. Karena banyak banget orang bilang kayak, wah baterai motor listrik tuh makin lama makin habis lah, kayak baterai HP. Tapi ternyata menurut Roman dia tidak merasakan apa-apa, masih sama dari baru sampai sekarang setelah 42.000 km, setelah 10 bulan masih sama kapasitas baterainya. Yang bikin berubah hanyalah kalau lagi suhunya berubah. Jadi kalau misalnya kayak di Amerika lagi winter, when you were in US, because it's winter, how many range do you get from a single charge?
Where it was really like snow and around 0 or -3. But I was going slow on the other hand, right? Because you don't go fast on the bike in freezing temperature. I was getting maybe 250, 230 kilometers per charge.
Jadi kalau di Amerika pas lagi dingin-dinginnya gitu ya, yang tadinya 320 itu drop ke 250, 230 km sekali charge. Tapi itu gara-gara suhunya. Ketika dia balik lagi di Indonesia, di Australia yang panas, charge-nya itu balik lagi ke 320. Did you have any problems with the bike?
Okay, so this is the thing. So look, I don't have any sponsors. This is completely trip financed by me, so I'm completely authentic. So I can really what I said. It's how it is. So I did not.
Okay.
I did not have any sort of issue with the electronics or anything. Also, any maintenance. I didn't have to do any maintenance other than very traditional one, which you would do also for a normal bike. I had to change tires after 25,000 kilometers. I changed tires. I changed my brake pads. And I changed the belt. I didn't have to do it. Just did it as a preventive measure. And that's about it. That was the only sort of...
Really? Nothing leaking?
No issue.
Bolts unbolted?
Nothing. Because also this bike does not have any vibrations. It's an electric bike, right? So there is less strain on the structure of the bike, right?
Yes.
So I did not have anything. The only maintenance I had to do was that I have a belt. It doesn't have a chain, and it's rubber, right? So it stretches based on temperature. So when I was changing climates, like I went from South Asia in the rainy seasons to Gobi Desert where it was dry and hot, I had to adjust it. So I had to make sure that my belt has the right tension. So I was doing it every, once I changed really major, I went to cold climate. So I did it maybe 8 times or 10 times. I changed the...
And that's it.
And my rear mirror.
That doesn't count. But like
Seriously,
no leaking from the suspension even?
No, nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
Wow. Jadi selama 42.000 km Roman keliling dunia, ya, ini sungguh-sungguh surprising sih. Dia tidak melakukan perbaikan apapun, kecuali ganti ban, ganti kampas rem, sama ganti belt. Nggak ada baut yang lepas, gitu ya. Dinamonya nggak rusak, komputernya nggak error, baterainya juga nggak ada yang rusak. Bayangin, 42.000 km. Dan kata dia juga karena ini adalah motor listrik, jadi kan nggak ada getaran. Nah itu juga ternyata menurut dia itu tidak memberikan stres yang berlebihan pada sasis motornya. Makanya nggak ada baut-baut yang lepas. Biasanya kan kalau baut-baut lepas itu kan karena motor terlalu bergetar gitu ya. Tapi karena motor ini nggak ada getaran, jadinya baut-bautnya aman dan bener-bener free maintenance banget. What kind of spare parts did you bring along the way?
Not many. I got a spare belt. Just in case, because it's something you don't get anywhere. But I didn't need it, but I just carry it. I had brake pads, which I knew that I will need to change anyway. And I had a 12-volt battery, because the whole system of the bike is run by the 12-volt battery. And then I had just a couple of tools, again, for changing the tensions and everything, and that's about it. And then something which I really underestimated was rain gear. So I started to ride just with the raincoat. I was not very experienced touring guy, so I just did what I thought that I can do. Also, I had very limited space, so I have only one shoes, one jacket, and I should have taken a better rain gear, which I realized when I hit the rainy season in Southeast Asia and South China. And so I should have put more emphasis on that than on the bike, which really did it.
Jadi komentar dari Roma ini menarik banget ya, karena dia Roma sendiri ini bukan biker banget lah ya, gitu. Dia juga, this is your first touring? Oh wait, your first touring is Jakarta Bali.
I did a little bit touring, but also that's about it.
Tapi juga nggak sesering itu gitu ya, dan ternyata motor listrik ini mempermudah sekali karena dia jadi punya waktu dan kesempatan gitu ya, dan space untuk mempersiapkan dirinya lebih jauh dibandingkan mempersiapkan motornya, teman-teman. Tapi karena ini motor listrik ya, jadi spare part ini bos sangat-sangat sedikit, jadi space-nya itu bisa buat barang-barang dia yang lain. Dan bahkan nggak ada oil leak sama sekali dari suspensi, jadi ini bisa dibilang motornya luar biasa reliable jadinya. Now, what was the most memorable part of this trip?
Yeah, it's always right, like the achievement when you really go through some tough times, and then you may make it. That's what you know is the strongest emotional response, which you remember the most, right? So definitely when I crossed Kazakhstan, I mean that was really difficult because it's a thousands of kilometers of just flat steppes where is nothing, no vegetation. I was sleeping just in some truck stop places. I was just eating chocolate bar and potato chips for weeks. So that one was definitely, and also, yeah, exactly, there is just a flat road. So
Wow.
that was, but when I made it, it was amazing feeling. Or for example, when I was crossing between Europe, in Turkey, between Europe and Asia, there is this Bosporus channel and there is a bridge. So I was just going from Asia to Europe on that bridge, and I just realized you have these moments where, the moments of truth, right? Like, I have just crossed Asia. And it hits you like, man, no one has done it before, and when I crossed the entire Asia, that felt amazing. Or I came to my country, I'm from Slovakia, so I came to Slovakia. Every time I visit my country from Indonesia, I fly there. And you even have to take a connecting flight. It's far. And it takes you a day with waiting times and everything. And then suddenly I came to Slovakia on this bike, and I realized, wow, the time this thing I did on a plane, now actually here on the bike. So definitely those, I would say it was not like overall feeling, but there were these moments. I always say 80% was a grind. As we discussed, you need to go through the rain, you need to deal with custom officials and their procedures. You need to manage all the documents and planning. So it's really 80% is just like a normal work. Maybe you have like 15% when the weather is good, you are in a nice place, and it seems like, wow, this is actually quite okay. And then there is like 4%, 5%, which is like a pure bliss. It's just those moments when you ride in the north coast of Flores next to the sea, or when you are with people who are telling you that you are their hero and they admire you. So these are the moments which never happened to me before, and I have to admit it was great.
It was great, right?
So
wow.
And I do this for a purpose. So this sort of validates that hypothesis that I had, that this will make people more curious, more interested. And now I see it does.
Yes.
I mean, I see with the reaction of the public, interest, the reason we have this conversation and all of that, it sort of validates that, I mean, this is a good way to bring awareness and a little bit more interest of general public into e-mobility.
Jadi menurut dia banyak banget momennya, ya kalian bisa dengar sendiri lah ya. Cuman yang jelas buat dia, trip ini berhasil membuktikan hipotesa dia di awal bahwa motor listrik itu bisa keliling dunia sekarang karena teknologi sudah canggih dan orang-orang udah nggak usah takut lagi untuk nyobain yang namanya teknologi motor listrik. Now, my last questions. How should I say this? Well, how this trip changed you as a person?
Okay, well, that's a good question.
Because you've seen everything, right? I mean, you've seen everything. You've done 42,000 kilometers in 10 months.
That's a good question. People ask me, what will you do next? And I always say, well, I don't know, because what else you can do other than really going around the whole world? Like, I mean, I said I was next to Baikonur, which is the largest spaceport in the world, and I was thinking, maybe I can go to Moon from there, and that's the next one. But has this changed? This is not something transformative, because also you don't do this type of things like you are just a person who sits in the office and suddenly decides to do this. You already have certain attributes, and there is some baseline for this. So it's not like it completely transforms you into somebody else. And I ask people, like, have I changed? And they say, not that much. So I think it has not changed me that much. I still, I want this country to be better and have my small take in this world and all of that. I'm still curious. I think where it changed me that I have more clarity on what next. right? Because I thought that I will do these and some things you cannot plan. So, for example, with all of this sort of interest and validation of this project, I really see that the communities and businesses and government are quite interested. So I really want to leverage this momentum to maybe not just identify, so what are the further problems in wider adoption of e-mobility, but maybe what are the solutions, and even make those solutions happen, right? Through working with startup ecosystem, again, bringing together all the stakeholders. So I think I'm getting more clarity on that, and that is how it's changed me, that I'm just more clear on what needs to be done further.
Nice. So, thank you so much, Roman, for your time here. You guys don't forget to follow Roman. Jangan lupa follow Instagram. Your Instagram is?
It's this one, e.round.
e.round world.
Yeah.
Don't forget to follow him. Although he already finished the trip around the world, but I believe you have more to come, yeah?
I definitely, as I said, this sort of communities with formal institutions, businesses. There's so much which can be done, not just about talking and meeting, but really building some solutions.
Nice.
That's what I will do next.
All right. So thank you so much for watching. Stay safe di jalan. I'll see you next video, guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Roman. Thank you.
Thank you.